So picture this. It is 6:30 p.m. You have just walked through the front door, or maybe, you finally closed your laptop after just a marathon of a workday.
Oh, yeah, we know that exact feeling.
Right. And you were standing in the kitchen, basically bathed in the harsh, judgmental glare of the open refrigerator light. Your energy is entirely depleted.
Completely gone.
Yeah, completely. The prefrontal cortex of your brain, which is the part responsible for making, good rational decisions, has just completely checked out for the day.
It is the universal neurobiological state of the modern evening. You are operating on fumes at that point.
Exactly. And towering over you in your mind is that massive temptation to just tap an app on your phone and have a mountain of takeout delivered.
Right, because your brain is actively looking for the path of least resistance. It's just trying to survive the evening.
That is exactly why we are taking a deep dive into this specialized framework for evening wellness and nutrition today. Because the goal here isn't to just rattle off a list of healthy recipes for you.
No, definitely not.
You already know what a vegetable is. The mission today is to completely reframe the very concept of dinner. We are looking at how to transform this meal from a stressful, looming chore into, well, a biological transition.
A deliberate transition,
Right, a deliberate, sacred opportunity to shift your nervous system away from the day's stress and actively prepare your body for restorative sleep.
And honestly, that requires a profound shift in perspective. We are going to explore meal strategies today that demand the absolute minimum amount of cognitive load from you, but deliver maximum physiological benefits.
Which is exactly what you need at 6:30 p.m.
Totally. It's about understanding the mechanics of your own biology at the end of the day and working with those mechanics rather than fighting against them.
So what does this all mean? Before we even think about what goes on a cutting board, we really need to establish why dinner requires a completely different strategic approach than, say, breakfast or lunch.
It's a completely different biological game.
Right. Because if breakfast is the jet fuel to get the plane off the ground, dinner is it's the gentle maintenance crew working quietly while the plane is parked in the hangar. You do not want the engines roaring when the plane is supposed to be resting.
I love that. That analogy perfectly captures the arc of our circadian rhythm. I mean, breakfast and lunch are designed for energy, right? For mental clarity and focus.
You're actively burning fuel during the day.
Exactly. But dinner has a totally unique biological mandate. It's about nourishment, satisfaction, and above all else, ease of digestion.
Ease of digestion. Okay, let's unpack this.
Yeah.
Because if you consume a heavy, greasy, or, ultra-processed meal at 7:30 p.m., you aren't just making yourself feel momentarily sluggish.
Oh, not at all. You are actively destroying your sleep architecture.
Let's dig into the mechanics of that for a second. What is actually happening inside the body when someone eats that heavy meal right before winding down?
Well, what's fascinating here is that it all comes down to the sheer metabolic cost of digestion. Breaking down complex, heavy fats and ultra-processed foods takes a massive amount of energy.
Like physical energy from the body.
Yeah, quite literally. When you eat a heavy meal, your body has to redirect a significant volume of blood flow straight to your gastrointestinal tract. It's a process known as splanchnic circulation.
Splanchnic circulation, okay.
Right. And because your system is working so incredibly hard to process that heavy food, your core body temperature stays slightly elevated. And your resting heart rate, it just cannot fully drop.
And for the brain to transition into deep, slow-wave sleep, core body temperature actually needs to drop, right? That's a biological requirement.
Exactly. Your core temperature needs to drop by about 1 to 2 degrees Fahrenheit to initiate and maintain deep sleep.
Wow, okay.
So if you force your digestive system to work the night shift processing a heavy meal, your internal furnace is essentially still burning.
Which ruins the sleep.
Totally ruins it. Your heart rate variability drops. You toss and turn, your sleep cycles get fragmented, and you wake up feeling incredibly groggy. And then you need a gallon of coffee to jumpstart a broken system all over again.
It's a vicious cycle. So the foundation of a clean dinner has to be built on foods that don't demand that massive metabolic spike.
Precisely.
The framework we are looking at points to 3 vital pillars for this. We've got lean proteins, fiber-rich cooked vegetables, and wholesome, gentle carbohydrates.
Right, because those specific components require very little metabolic effort to break down.
They're easy on the system.
Extremely easy. They provide the amino acids and micronutrients the body uses overnight for cellular repair, but without keeping that internal furnace roaring.
So the biological mandate is crystal clear. Keep it gentle. But let's look at the reality of the listener's situation.
The 6:30 p.m. reality.
Yeah, we are still dealing with that tapped-out, decision-fatigued brain at 6:30 p.m. The meal needs to be biologically gentle, but the preparation has to be psychologically gentle too.
That's the real hurdle.
Right, because if a meal requires complex timing, 3 different skillets and a massive cleanup, the friction is just too high. We're going to order a pizza.
Without a doubt, friction is the ultimate enemy of good habits when you are cognitively depleted. Every extra step in a recipe, every extra pan you have to scrub later, it just adds to your cognitive load.
It's too much to ask of a tired brain.
By the end of the day, you are experiencing something called ego depletion. Your willpower is a finite resource, and by dinner time, the tank is just empty.
So if the goal is zero friction, how do we physically cook without adding stress? And that brings us to the mechanics of the sheet pan meal.
The ultimate evening hack.
Truly. The framework highlights this not just as a recipe, but as a behavioral hack.
Yeah.
Basically, you line one baking sheet with parchment paper. You put a lean protein in the center, like, say, a wild-caught salmon fillet or clean chicken breast.
Keep it simple.
Exactly. And then you surround it with whatever vegetables are in the fridge, add some olive oil and some basic seasoning, and pop it into a 400-degree oven for 20 minutes.
And the beauty of this method lies entirely in what you are not doing during those 20 minutes.
Here's where it gets really interesting, though. Let me push back on this a little bit. Is the magic of the sheet pan actually about the food itself, or is this really just a psychological trick?
What do you mean?
Like, are we just trying to bypass a depleted prefrontal cortex by removing the mental gymnastics of being a line cook in our own kitchen? Does throwing everything on one pan really count as cooking?
Oh, it is absolutely a psychological trick and a highly effective one. You are hacking your own behavioral psychology.
Okay, so is this a trick?
Yeah, but a good one. When you put that single pan in the oven, you shift your brain from a state of active management, which drains your energy, to a state of passive waiting.
Active management versus passive waiting.
Exactly. You aren't managing different burner temperatures or timing multiple components to finish at the exact same time. You just walk away.
You reclaim your time.
Right. Those 20 minutes become a decompression zone. You can change out of your work clothes, listen to music, or just sit in silence. You are physically transitioning out of your workday while the oven does the mechanical work of making the nutrients in those vegetables more bioavailable.
And since you use parchment paper, the cleanup takes roughly, 10 seconds?
Yeah.
So that dreaded post-dinner chore is basically eliminated.
Which is huge for the exhausted brain.
Right. You get all the biological benefits of the lean protein and the fiber without the cognitive tax.
You've removed the barriers. And when the barrier to entry is that low, choosing the vibrant, clean eating option becomes so much easier than dealing with the delivery app.
Okay, so if the sheet pan is the ultimate tool for reducing physical and cognitive friction, the framework then transitions to another incredibly powerful strategy for the evening.
One that I really love.
Yeah, one that actually slows down psychological time, and that is the mechanics of warm liquids specifically, cozy, clean soups or stews.
This is a fascinating pivot because consuming a warm bowl of soup in the evening does something very specific to human physiology.
It changes the internal state.
Yeah. It acts as a literal internal signal to your nervous system that it is time to downshift.
Now, we all know that a can of store-bought soup is basically a sodium bomb. I mean, the issue there isn't just water retention.
Right, it's so much worse than that.
It's what that massive influx of synthetic preservatives, artificial thickeners, and processed sodium does to your resting heart rate and blood pressure when you are, actively trying to achieve deep sleep.
Exactly. It forces the cardiovascular system to work harder to filter all those compounds out.
Which completely defeats the purpose of eating clean, to aid digestion and lower your core temperature.
It does. The alternative is leveraging a homemade version, which is both fast and inherently therapeutic to the nervous system.
The framework spotlights a hearty lentil and vegetable soup. You saute aromatics, onions, garlic, carrots, celery. You add lentils, vegetable broth, tomatoes, and herbs like rosemary, and just let it simmer.
It sounds so simple, but it's incredibly effective.
Good. I look at this not just as cooking, but almost as a transition ritual. Sautéing those onions and garlic, smelling those aromatics, hit the hot oil. It's almost like a sensory cue or like the closing bell that tells your brain the workday is officially over.
It is a profound transition ritual. The olfactory system, your sense of smell, is wired directly into the brain's limbic system.
So it affects our emotions and stress levels directly.
Precisely. The aromatherapy of rosemary, garlic, and simmering broth can actually trigger a parasympathetic nervous system response.
And the parasympathetic nervous system, that's the rest and digest mode, right? The biological parking brake.
Spot on. You are actively pulling the biological parking brake through sensory inputs. But if we connect this to the bigger picture, the real magic of this specific meal happens under the hood, overnight.
Okay, let's get into the mechanics of that.
Well, lentils are an incredible source of plant-based protein, sure, but more importantly, they are packed with soluble fiber.
Wait, let me challenge that for a second.
Sure, go ahead.
If the primary biological mandate of dinner is ease of digestion, like we just established, and lentils are packed with fiber, doesn't fiber inherently make the digestive system work much harder? I mean, I thought we wanted the gut to rest.
That is a really great point, and it's a vital distinction. It really comes down to the difference between insoluble fiber and soluble fiber.
Okay, what's the difference there?
So, insoluble fiber like raw kale or celery acts like a broom in your system. It's roughage, and breaking it down can indeed cause gas and require intense digestive effort.
Right, which we don't want at 8 p.m.
Exactly. But soluble fiber, which is what lentils are full of, behaves completely differently. When it mixes with the liquids in your stomach, it forms this soft, soothing gel.
A gel.
Yeah. It doesn't demand massive bile and acid production the way heavy fats or roughage do. Instead, this gel coats the digestive tract and slows down gastric emptying in a very gentle, sustained way.
Okay, so how does that gentle gel-like digestion actually improve sleep architecture?
Think about why people so often wake up suddenly at like 3 a.m. feeling wide awake and strangely stressed out for no apparent reason.
The worst feeling.
Right. Well, a massive, very common culprit for that 3 a.m. wake up is a blood sugar crash.
Oh, really?
Yeah. If you eat a dinner heavy in refined carbs, your blood glucose spikes, insulin rushes in to clear it out, and then a few hours later while you're asleep, your blood glucose dips way too low.
And the brain panics because it needs glucose to function.
Exactly. The brain senses the low blood sugar as a literal threat to your survival. So it signals the adrenal glands to release a surge of cortisol and adrenaline to mobilize stored glycogen from the liver just to stabilize your blood sugar.
Wow. So that spike of cortisol and adrenaline is what jolts you awake at 3 a.m.
That's exactly what jolts you awake.
That is fascinating.
Yeah.
So the soluble fiber in the lentils is essentially what? Drip feeding glucose into the bloodstream so that crash never happens?
You've got it. That gel digests slowly and steadily. It provides a constant, tiny drip of sustenance into your bloodstream throughout the entire night.
Keeping everything perfectly level.
Right. It keeps your blood sugar stable, which completely prevents the brain from hitting the panic button and releasing cortisol. You are biochemically engineering an uninterrupted night of sleep.
Wow. You are using the meal as an active tool for overnight recovery. But okay, let's bring this back to the reality of a busy week.
Let's do it.
Lentil soup and roasted salmon are phenomenal strategies. What happens, though, when it's, say, Thursday night? It has been a brutal, high-stress week, and your brain is absolutely screaming for a massive bowl of takeout noodles.
Oh, the Thursday night cravings.
Exactly. You don't want a light soup. You want something heavy, salty, and comforting. How do we navigate that biological craving without just totally wrecking our sleep?
The framework addresses this obstacle head-on because, as you said, it is universally relatable. We all get there.
So what's the move?
The strategy here isn't about white-knuckling your way through the craving or feeling deprived. It is about understanding the neurobiology of the craving itself and hacking it.
All right, so we're talking about deconstructed grain bowls or zucchini noodle stir-fries.
Yeah. When your brain is demanding a huge bowl of takeout noodles, it isn't actually asking for refined white flour.
It's not.
No, it is asking for a dopamine release. And in times of stress and fatigue, the brain knows that a specific ratio of salt, fat, and umami, that deep, savory flavor profile, will trigger a massive dopamine hit.
So the goal is to deliver that exact neurobiological reward, but without the heavy processed baggage.
Exactly. And the mechanics of the swap are brilliant. First, you trade out the massive glycemic load. Instead of a mountain of refined white pasta or takeout rice, you use spiralized zucchini noodles.
Also known as zoodles.
Right, zoodles or spaghetti squash or a complex grain like organic quinoa. By removing the refined carbohydrates, you immediately bypass that massive insulin spike.
An insulin spike at 8:30 p.m. is bad news for sleep.
Right? It's terrible. It not only throws your body into fat storage mode, but it can actually inhibit the natural production of melatonin, which is the hormone that regulates sleep.
So we swap the base, And then we saute it with crisp vegetables like bok choy and snap peas and add a clean protein like grilled shrimp or cubed organic tofu.
But the sauce is the real star here.
Yeah, the sauce is where the actual neurobiological hack takes place, isn't it? Because typical takeout sauces are notoriously packed with hidden refined sugars, cheap industrial oils, and just massive amounts of sodium.
The sauce is absolutely the linchpin. The framework suggests a clean sauce hack, a splash of coconut aminos, a touch of sesame oil, fresh ginger, garlic, and a squeeze of fresh lime juice.
Okay, let's break down why coconut aminos are highlighted as such a powerful alternative here for people who haven't used them.
Coconut aminos are made from the fermented sap of the coconut blossom, and they deliver an intense, rich source of glutamate.
And glutamate is the amino acid responsible for the umami flavor.
Yes. So you get that deep, savory satisfaction that the brain is demanding, but without the neurotoxic load of synthetic MSG, and with a fraction of the sodium found in typical takeout soy sauces.
Okay, I have to ask this on behalf of the pasta purists listening right now.
Uh-oh.
Because I know people who would roll their eyes at the mere phrase zucchini noodles. Is the goal of this meal to completely trick ourselves into thinking a zoodle is actual pasta? Or is it about embracing a totally new texture profile so we don't feel deprived when that takeout craving hits?
That is a crucial distinction to make. If you eat a zucchini noodle expecting the exact structural chew and starchiness of an artisan pasta, your brain will instantly know it's a fake.
Right, you can't fool the brain that easily.
No, and then you will just feel deprived. You cannot trick the brain's texture expectations. The game here is entirely about flavor satisfaction.
Providing a vehicle for the umami, basically.
Exactly. You are providing a fresh, crunchy vehicle for the garlic, the ginger, the sesame oil, and the coconut aminos.
Which hits all those sensory receptors.
It does. The specific combination of that savory depth and the bright acidity of the lime juice checks all the sensory boxes the brain needs to release dopamine. You satisfy the craving, you get the comfort.
But because you avoided the refined carbs and industrial oils, you completely bypass the metabolic crash.
Precisely. You are giving the brain the dopamine it wants without paying the biological tax at 2 a.m.
You get to enjoy a deeply satisfying, savory meal, and your digestive system still gets to power down, so you wake up feeling completely refreshed.
It's the ultimate win-win.
This entire deep dive has been incredibly practical. As you look at your own week ahead, the ultimate takeaway we want to synthesize for you is this. Approach dinner with ease, not pressure.
Ease is the key word.
Right. You do not need to cook complex, multi-course, perfect feasts every single night. That defeats the entire purpose of winding down.
The complexity is what creates the friction.
Exactly. By simply identifying 1 or 2 reliable, low-friction methods, whether that is the hands-off sheet pan method or a biologically grounding lentil soup, you just remove the cognitive load.
You take the guesswork out of it.
Yeah. When you stock your kitchen with real whole food ingredients and understand how they actually work inside your body, healthy eating stops feeling like a heavy, burdensome chore. It transforms into a genuine act of self-care.
It becomes a tool for recovery.
Yes, it becomes the smooth runway that helps you land your plane safely at the end of a chaotic day.
And as we wrap up, I want to leave you with one final thought to ponder that builds on everything we've unpacked today.
Oh, absolutely. What is it?
Well, we have talked extensively about how the specific whole foods we choose and the warmth of a meal act as internal biological signals to the nervous system.
Right, they tell the body to pull the parking brake.
Exactly. So this raises an incredibly important question for you to explore in your own home. If the food acts as an internal signal, how might you curate your physical eating environment to do the exact same thing?
Oh, I love that. Using external signals to match the internal ones.
Precisely. If the food is the chemical cue to downshift, how can we use our physical space as a behavioral cue?
Like changing the lighting.
Yeah. How might dimming the harsh overhead lights in the kitchen, or maybe changing the acoustic environment with some soft music, help?
Or deliberately removing screens and phones from the dining area.
Exactly. How might doing those things turn the table itself into a powerful environmental tool for a better night's rest?
That is the ultimate goal, creating a full ecosystem for the evening. So the next time you find yourself standing exhausted in front of the open fridge, bathed in that harsh LED light, trying to make a decision when your willpower is just completely gone.
Which will happen to all of us.
It will. But now you will know that the true goal isn't just to fill your stomach. It is to close the door on the stress of the day, nourish your biology gently, and purposefully prepare for a truly restorative night.
Let the maintenance crew do their job.
Keep that gentle maintenance crew in mind. Until next time, we'll see you on the next deep dive.